Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm Christina Bilbrey of Stellanova Strategies, and I help aspiring business owners and existing business owners start and grow their businesses. And I do that by helping them overcome fears. I help them grow and establish their networks, as well as learning how to tell their story more authentically. I was asked to speak today by two of your alums, Doctors Alexandra Mayer and Matthew Hernandez. They wanted me to talk about a topic that they feel is essential for your future success when you start your practices. So the title of today's talk is 7 Insider Tips to Jumpstart Your Future Business Now. During the next half hour, I'm going to give you several tips that you can begin to implement right away, and a lot of things to think about how to incorporate into your life. And if at the end, if you feel that this strikes a chord with you, then I'm going to share an opportunity that I have created to help you grow more in these areas over the next few months. And this will be available to students as well as alums at your school. With that, let's get started. I have 4 questions that any future entrepreneur should ask themselves. The first, why do you want to start your practice? The second, what will be the most important skills for you to learn to have a successful start to your practice? The third is, what is the scariest part about starting a practice? And finally, what can you do now to give yourself the highest chance of having a successful start to your business? If you want to significantly increase the success rate that you'll have getting started, then we need to start answering some of these questions. The first question is one that only you can answer, and your responses are going to vary among your peers. Why do you want to start this business? This isn't something that I want you to take lightly. I want you to really think about this, focus on it, write it out. What drew you into this field? This is going to be something that becomes very personal. I don't want you to think in generic terms. So we'll get into this more later. The second question that I asked is, what is most important for you to learn to successfully start your future business? What's the good of becoming an excellent naturopath and learning all of the tools and ways that you are to start your business from a medical standpoint if nobody knows about you and you're not helping anyone? So outside of your education, building strong relationships and developing your personal brand are going to be the best skills you have to start your business successfully. The third question I asked is, what is the scariest part about starting a business? You will incur a host of fixed costs, including rent and utilities, staff, insurance, all different types of things. And so the scariest question often becomes, will I have the money I need to cover these expenses? And is there going to be anything left over for me? Again, you need to focus on developing your personal brand and creating strong relationships to help you with this. The final question I asked is, how do you think you should prepare now to have the highest chance of a successful start to your business? By now, you should know the answer is developing strong relationships and creating your personal brand to help get you into the marketplace. These are going to become your new best friends. So learning how to effectively market yourself and developing strong brands are going to give you the best start. Okay, so now let's get into the 7 insider tips. The first tip, as scary or annoying or fun and exciting as it may sound, is networking. Now, there are a variety of ways that you can do this. online, over the phone, and in person. In person tends to be the strongest way to connect with someone, so that's where I'm going to focus the bulk of our presentation today. The second tip is to gain confidence as a business professional. Now, gaining confidence is a must for any business owner, and you certainly have some confidence or you wouldn't even be in the program that you're in right now. But what I'm talking about is gaining confidence as a business professional, confidence that is authentic and sincere, not fake, not contrived. When you really start throwing yourself out there to the public, you're going to find that this tends to stir up a lot of fears and insecurity in everyone. That's totally normal. I found this to be so prevalent among my clients that I decided to write an ebook about how to overcome your fears and achieve success. And I'll tell you more about that later on. And there's a way that you can download that for free. I want you to think about tech businesses. These are often run by young professionals. Some may be younger than you, and they appear on the news as experts. They speak in TED Talks, they speak at conventions, they speak to stockholders and a variety of different professionals. They have to come across as an expert, and so do you. So I don't want you to think that your age or the fact that you're just starting out should prevent you from speaking as an expert. That's something that you need to learn to become comfortable with. Now, I want to take a second and tell you, don't go overboard. I mean, this isn't something where I want you to become arrogant or think that you know everything. But when you feel insecure, speaking boldly about what you offer and what you believe, then others are going to doubt you as well. And it's up to you to work on changing this. A couple of years ago, I had a client that I worked with, and she was a therapist as well as a professor. She wanted to add a third facet to her career, and that was being a professional speaker. Now, she loved public speaking, but she was absolutely petrified about networking and approaching people to talk about her business because she hated sounding awkward and salesy. So we started working on coaching, and we found ways that were natural and genuine for her to convey what she needed to about her business, as well as just developing these relationships. We literally wrote out scripts for her to use, some for emails, some for phone calls, and some for networking conversations. Really just a jumping off point to get started doing what she needed to do. Well, over the course of a year, she ended up booking a ton of gigs. One was with actually a Fortune 100 company. One was with a national conference. A few were with regional businesses, and others with nonprofits. Now remember, this is the third and smallest facet to her career that she didn't have a lot of time, effort, or energy to devote to pursuing. But what she did was demonstrate diligence and consistency with the time that she did have. So I want you to realize that no matter where you're at on the spectrum, how secure or insecure you are right now, you can learn to speak boldly about who you are and what you do, what you're going to do with your business. And this is an area that anyone can grow and improve upon. Okay, the third tip that I want to share is to start working on these right now. The sooner you start, the sooner you will begin to master these areas and really come across as an expert with confidence. You may need a little bit of faking it till you make it, and you're going to need to learn a little bit about mastering the art of small talk, which may be fun or not so fun for some of you. And you're also going to learn a secret that successful business owners and marketers use. It's called active listening, and we're going to talk more about that later. One reason for you to start networking and developing your personal brand now is to have a big network once you actually launch your business. I'm sure you know that the bigger and stronger your network, the more quickly you'll be able to grow your practice. And if you wait until you launch your business to really invest the time and effort into doing this, you're going to have those host of fixed costs that I talked about and nobody walking in the door. Yikes, that's not the place where you want to be. That's not how you want to start. So the time to lay the groundwork is right now. You're going to want people coming in immediately and consistently once you launch. So let's get you started on that path. The fourth tip that I will mention is to develop your area of specialization. There's a wide array of areas that you're learning about right now. You can't be an expert in each of them. It's very important that you carefully consider where you will focus your practice. And this is something that you should have a lot of conversations with people who are already practitioners in the areas that you're considering. There is a saying in business that there are riches and niches. So the more niche you can define yourself, the more successful you will be in growing a business around that. The more broad you are, the more people don't really understand exactly why to come to you. You want to be as specific as possible. So what does this look like? What are the decisions that should factor into this? This isn't something that you want to take lightly. Like I said, you want to do a lot of research. You want to see what are the growing areas and talking to people who do it or who used to do what you're considering doing. Look at the opportunities that are around you. Most importantly, I want you to pick something that you're passionate about because that will come across. And remember, you have to get up every day to look for clients and to work with existing clients. And if this is not an area that you are passionate about, whichever area you decide to specialize in, you're either going to come across as fake and turn people away, or you're going to get burned out, or both. The fifth tip that I want to point out is pinpoint your ideal patient. In marketing, we refer to this as your target demographic. This is defined as a group of consumers that a particular product or service is aimed at. Once you answer the previous question about the area that you will specialize in, you can start to focus on the people who fall into this category who need this type of help. What is their age? What is the gender? Where do they live? How do they live? Are they active? What do they like to do? What do they listen to? Where do they go? You need to learn these things and you need to go where they are. Make sure that you are seeking a group that you connect with and understand well. The sixth tip is learn who to start networking with to build your business right now. Is it okay to start focusing with your family and friends? Sure, that is a great place to start because they'll help you get some of the nerves out, gain some helpful feedback, as well as hopefully telling others about what you do, what you're learning, and what you seek to do. This will help you start to create your community who views you as an expert in this area, and that's what you want to create. You want to be an expert in the area. You want to be seen as a very strong business professional who takes their business seriously, as well as a doctor who truly cares about the well-being of their patients. So that is something that you can start working on right now, even though you don't have a business. Remember, you don't want to limit yourself only to talking to friends and family, but they're a great place to start. You also want to start branding yourself with as many people as possible because you never know who they know, who is a part of their network. And for the introverts out there, I'm not saying that you need to change your personality. You can work this into casual conversations that are one-on-one or in small group settings where you already find yourself. It's just taking advantage of where you already are and being authentic and natural. Here are a few secrets to networking. First, you want to meet business owners. Business owners who take their businesses seriously and are dedicated to growing them. Why? Because you want to surround yourself with like-minded people and like-minded business owners. Chances are they are out connecting with others throughout the week, every week, and they can help get the word out about you, and they'll also just help you stay motivated in what you're doing and have tips for you as well. Now, one thing that you're going to want to do when you develop these relationships is find out as much as you can about them, what they do, and what they're looking for. You're going to want to become a connector for them. So I want you to start thinking about, what do these people need? What are they looking for? And who do you know that you can connect with them? Whether it's a potential client for them, a vendor, or just a resource. If they see that you are valuable and you are truly helping them, believe me, they will do the same for you. And the more that you stay in touch with them, the more that you will be at the forefront of their mind when they do meet people who could use your services. And they do remember, oh yeah, I know someone that you need to talk to. This is a really great person in this area. And believe me, those contacts are going to be people that you will want in the not too distant future. So the more you can expand your network, even just talking about what you're learning now, why you're passionate about this, what you want to do, will help you. Now, second, not everyone that you network with needs to be a business owner. So start talking to people that you see every day. Family, friends, parents of friends, baristas, bartenders, social media contacts, etc. These are all great people for your network. And you can talk to them about what you're learning, what you're passionate about, and when you plan to start your practice and where you start your practice. You grow these relationships like a garden. So you're planting seeds by having these initial conversations. Some people will be interested and they will begin to sprout. Others won't. That's okay. That's not a reflection on you. That's what happens to everyone. But the important part is remembering to water your plants so they don't wither and die. And watering your plants is staying in touch. And there are a variety of ways that you can do this. But you want to have them remember who you are, what you do, and we'll talk about some other ways that you can stay in touch. Third is networking in a variety of ways. So this isn't all face-to-face. You can network on social media. You can network in conversations, network at events, conventions, educational events that you go to, basically anywhere you go. To start working on this now will take you far and you'll get there so much faster. Networking and building your brand will really jumpstart your business. This doesn't need to be a formal thing. This can be very casual and very natural. People can tell when you're being salesy. So what you want to learn how to do is just drip little pieces of information about what you're doing, what your plans are, into as many conversations as you can, including social media. Fourth, remember that networking can be a great way to find a business mentor. This can turn out to be someone who's in a completely different industry than you. And that's okay. You just want to find someone who is really good at growing their business and who will come alongside of you, whether informally or formally, to help you grow your business as well. And by the way, mentors always want to see their proteges succeed. So they will absolutely be going to work with helping you find referrals for your business. They may also invite you to events and organizations that they belong to that you might want to consider joining. Okay, the seventh tip is that you can help people. Oop, hang on one second. I jumped ahead a little bit. Okay. Nope, I'm not. I'm right where I need to be. Okay. The 7th tip is what to say when you're networking. So we've talked about tell people what you're learning about. Find simple ways that you can tell them how they can learn more, how they can have some best practices about their health. What can they do now? You can consider starting a blog. Learn how to tell people your story inside and out, very clearly, simply, and easily. You want to do this in a way that connects with them on an emotional level, because that's the strongest way to connect with them. So the first thing that I want you to do in this area is to write out why you're interested in this field, why you plan to start your own practice. I have a feeling when you really start thinking about it, there was either a pivotal point in your life that drew you to this career path, or you had a series of small events, which was the case with me for my business. So people will want to work with you because of your passion, because of the way that you connect with them, and your story. So write those down. Know how to communicate those very crisply, very simply, and quickly. Remember earlier what I mentioned about becoming an active listener? So what is it exactly that you're listening for? You're studying to become health practitioners. So you want to ask simple questions about that could lead into conversations about someone's health. I'm going to give you an example from, this could be at a cocktail party or a networking event. So you might mention when you're talking to somebody a recipe that you've learned that's healthy. See if they're interested in cooking or what their food habits are like. Mention something about how to build energy, without just using caffeine, something naturally, a boost to their day. You can talk about going hiking or something active. See if they're exercising. See what you can start to learn about the health of this individual and how much they care about it. So these are very non-salesy ways that you can start to introduce a conversation about what you do and your health by dripping little details that will gain their interest. Your goal is to get an in. You want to learn where they're at, and you want to give them a good tip that makes them interested in you in this area. So find out as much as you can about who they are, and also find out about what they do, what they're looking for that has nothing to do with you, something in their business or their personal life that they're trying to find, or a way that you can connect them with someone in your network or find a resource for them. And if you don't know anything right off the top of the bat, then just write it down and follow up with them later. They will be so surprised, and you will make such a strong impression that you took that extra effort with them. They will absolutely remember who you are, and they will be looking for ways that they can return the favor. So remember, it takes time to build credibility and to grow relationships. Use the time that you have wisely now. This doesn't have to consume all of your time. Even if you can commit to 15 minutes twice a week right now, you can start making a big difference in the areas that we've talked about. It doesn't matter how shy or how outgoing you are. Believe me, I've worked with people on all sides of the spectrum. There are steps that you can take to become more comfortable developing your personal brand and gaining the strong relationships that you need to build your business. The more people who know what your focus is, know what you're trying to do, and the more people you'll help, the more referrals you will gain. And right now, those are just referrals to your network, and that's fine. But these are people that you will stay in touch with, and they will spread what you do to other people as well, so that when you do launch, you're not starting from ground zero. Just ask doctors Alexandra Mayer and Matthew Hernandez about the importance of gaining business referrals. They'll be able to tell you exactly how important each and every one of those is. If you find a product or a business that you like, you naturally tell others about it, whether that's in person, to a friend, on Facebook or Yelp or some other way. So when you're doing this for your business, you just want to make sure that the business owner or the business professional that your contact is aware that you've made these contacts and that you're making strides to help them. And if this isn't a business owner, then you want to make sure that they know that you're connecting them with whatever it is that they need, the resource or the person that they are looking for. There is a saying in BNI, which is a networking group, that givers gain. And the thought behind this is when you go about building your business, if you don't go about it from a me standpoint, but from really a genuine focus on the other person, a way to connect with them and helping them with what they need, they will in turn help grow your business. It's just natural. This is just something that happens. So make sure when you're going about this that you're not guiding the conversations to me. You want to make sure that you're giving something of benefit to others and that they do understand where you're at and what you're trying to do, but that isn't the only point of your conversation or of your relationship with them, that you really want it to be reciprocal. Now, aside from giving someone a helpful tip or connecting them with someone or something that they need, the other important thing to remember is to stay in touch. I said this earlier. I said this is the watering part of the relationship. You want to water these plants so that they grow. So it's important that you build relationships over time. Someone isn't necessarily going to remember you and think about you all the time because of one conversation you had. So this is someone you're going to want to stay in touch with and grow over time. That is why future business leaders start laying the groundwork long before they ever open their doors. Okay, well, let's take a breath because we've covered a lot of ground today and I've asked you a lot of questions. So while you're thinking about all these things and it seems like there's a lot for you to do right now, remember, you are in a really great place right now because you're still students and you have time on your side. So I would recommend that you just take small steps in these areas now and let those small steps grow. I would strongly discourage you from trying to take on everything and tackle all of this at once. It will make you fried, it will make you crazy. It's not the way to set yourself up. There is a concept named self-efficacy, and that is that you can achieve what you truly want when you give yourself a series of small successes. And that's the way that I help my clients. So you make it easier to develop a strong trajectory for success when you just take on a little bit at a time and you become very comfortable in that area, and then you take on a little bit more and so on. So to review, here are the 7 tips that we covered today. The first, start networking. The second, gain confidence as a business professional. The third, start working on this now. The fourth, determine your area of specialization. The fifth, pinpoint your target demographic, your ideal patient. The sixth, learn who to network with right now. And the seventh, learn what to say in these conversations that will help you build your business. Now, if the areas that we've covered today were interesting to you and made you stop and think that this is an area that you really want to dive into right now, then I'm glad for you, because you're on your way to developing a successful start to your business. And if you're interested in working with a small group of your peers and with me, I'm going to be starting small group sessions on group Skype that are 4 students plus me that meet once a month for 3 months. And we're going to go deep in detail in the areas that we've discussed in today's presentation. So if you want to help implement these areas and you want to stay motivated and focused, then I strongly recommend that you consider joining one of these groups. Now, if you don't have Skype, that's fine. I can send you very easy instructions on how to set up an account on your phone or your computer. So that shouldn't be an issue for you. And what we'll do in advance of the first session, I will send out to the people in the group questions and an exercise for you to focus on in advance of the first session. And during that session, we'll talk about, as a group, as well as some one-on-one time with each of you, what you succeeded at in these areas, what went well, what didn't, how to make adjustments, and we'll learn more in depth about how to fine-tune and grow in each of these areas. So joining this group will keep you motivated and consistent in your follow-through leading up to the launch of your business. For those of you who haven't heard of this type of group before, it's referred to as a mastermind. And that's because when you pool a small group of people together who are all focused in the same area, you'll grow much further and faster, because you'll be gaining insights from your peers who are right where you're at. They might be asking different questions than you are, thinking different thoughts that you haven't thought of yet. And you'll also be getting insights and help in coaching from me. And you'll get the encouragement that you need when you have a down day or a down week and it's difficult to keep going. So you'll learn about the areas that we discussed today. You'll learn how to become more deliberate and authentic in your conversations, talking about who you are, what you want to do, and why. I'm going to start these small groups in 3 weeks. So this will be the last week of May, and it will continue once a month for 3 months. The cost of the program is $135 per person. And if you refer a friend, then your cost goes down 10%. So it's $121.50. And that's for 3 months of coaching. I also want to encourage each of you to visit my website, which is where you can download a free copy of my ebook, Step Through Fear into Success. And it's a quick read, and it's a practical guide to help you overcome your fears about starting a business and start walking through them. And with that, I'm going to take this off mute and go to any questions that we might have. Let me see if I can do this. I don't know why this isn't letting me unmute you. Let me try one other thing. Oh, it worked.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I have a couple questions. If you guys had questions you wanted to ask as well.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start it off and then we'll rotate people into this spot.
Perfect.
Yeah, so you can see us. First off, I just wanted to ask if you knew what's the best way to go about finding a mentor. Do you like the Small Business Association mentor program that they have, or is it just kind of someone that you've met networking that you hit off with and you just ask them to be a mentor?
That's a really good question. Sorry, was there more to your question?
Or I said, or all of the above.
Okay, that's a really good question. And there's no silver bullet. I know I've talked to people who have tried to create networking programs and connect people, the mentors with the mentees, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So this is an area that I think is just good to keep top of mind wherever you go with people you meet. Always be on the lookout for a mentor, because honestly, you don't know where that's going to come from. So this may come from, I think you mentioned SBA and groups that they have, the Small Business Administration. This could come from just networking events that you go to. This could come from educational events in your field. I know another thing, the suggestion that I would have for your entrepreneurs group is to do a meetup or a happy hour with an entrepreneur club that has nothing to do with your profession, and start connecting with these other professionals who are going to become your friends and allies and helping you. Find these networking and entrepreneur clubs for students in Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff, and go as a group. They also might recommend places where they have found mentors or suggestions for you. But really, I feel like this happens when you're out and about. And the more that you can expose yourself to people who are in professions who are different than yours and in different places in their profession, so not just starting out, the more chances you will have. And I'm a big proponent of just telling everyone what you're looking for, that you're looking for a mentor in this area, because you never know, again, with networking, who someone will know to connect to you. Sorry if that's not as specific, but I feel like people can get very disappointed if they think, oh, I'm going to go to this place and this is where I'm going to find my mentor. You need to have a connection. You need to have an organic connection with someone, and it needs to go both ways. They need to connect to you and have an interest in you, and you need to feel that there's something to be gained from that individual. The other thing I would say is you don't just need to have one mentor. You might find someone who's very good at one aspect of what you want to learn, and maybe not other areas, and someone else who's great in other areas. So try to think about this from an informal standpoint as well. This can start or stop whenever. It doesn't have to be something that's formal. And you may find people who are good at one piece or another, but not everything you're looking for, and that's okay too.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll have some other members ask you questions. You're in the hot seat.
Yep. Hi, Christina.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Gaynal Nave.
Nice
I'm
to meet you.
Yep, nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much for making yourself available to us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I started blogging in my first quarter
Okay.
in preparation for when I get out of school and, marketing myself from now and making those connections. How would you suggest moving from a small base, so to speak, like your friends and family, to making it more, I guess, widely known in terms of what you're doing, what your profession is about, and using social media as like a launching pad or ammunition, so to speak, to promote what you're about?
First of all, I think kudos to you, because you're already off to a flying start if you've already got a blog and you're already focused on this area. And so it's great you're starting with your friends and family. It's a solid base. There are different ways you can look for groups to join. You can start groups and invite people to invite others to those groups. And you can go to existing groups and let them know who maybe you know one person in who might have hundreds or thousands, and you might start trying to ingratiate yourself into those groups. A lot of people, these might be groups that are related to health. These might be groups of, let's say you want to work with children. They might be mothers of children who deal with certain disabilities or certain disorders that you would like to get into, and you can start to become an expert to them. A lot of times they will ask questions of the group. Does anybody have a resource for this? Has anybody experienced this? What do I do with this? These are great places for you to meet complete strangers and start to use, even though they can't be your patient right now,
Right.
I'm sure you're learning about different tools, resources, suggestions in your studies in these areas that you can just start to give tools and resources and tips to them now, and lay that foundation, lay the groundwork for them. So groups on social media would be one, and then promote those groups among other groups and among your friends who might have an interest in the area. So if you're talking specifically about within social media, that's what I would recommend. Another thing that is in person, if you start going to entrepreneur clubs for students, maybe that isn't your school's group, but if you guys have other groups that you go to or just on your own, when you meet people, start talking to them about what you do. And if they're like, that's really interesting, I never thought of X or knew this was possible, maybe just some best practices, then make sure that you exchange information with them and say, I'm going to put you, I talk about this, whether it's weekly, twice a month, monthly, however often, I'll add you to my list. There are some tips that you might like. And if you want to send that to anybody else who might enjoy that, I'd appreciate that as well. So this is again, kind of when I was talking about dripping what you do into small conversations. You don't want to be in overkill mode, but these are things that you guys are learning that can benefit everyone. So just finding small ways to insert them into your conversations, now let's say you're giving a presentation at an event somewhere as a student, and maybe it's not at your school, then that's something where you can tell people about what you're doing and have a sign-up list or something. Add those people to your list. So there are different ways, whether it's in conversations, casually, formally, or online in social media, that you can start growing that network. Start trying different approaches, seeing what works well, what doesn't. But those are just a few things.
Gotcha. Thank you. I have one other question. So with regards to blogging as a student, I know you made some notes in terms of being personable and telling your story as to what drew you to in our case, naturopathic medicine. How would you say us as a student should balance talking about what we're going through as a student and giving, or rather presenting certain pearls that we could use in our practice, as well as give people information, kind of get them interested in what we do?
Okay, that's another great question. I would say that, again, people are going to be interested in your story. When we think about, and this is something that we'll really go deep into in the small groups that I'm starting, when you connect with someone, and I'm speaking broadly, whether this is a friend, whether this is a movie you watched or a blog that you read, how is it that you connect to someone? Why? What do you connect with? Usually the strongest connection is emotional. So how do you develop that emotional connection? It's going to be your story. It's going to be you being vulnerable and maybe not dropping it all out into one blog, but little slivers of your heart, because there are reasons why you chose this field out of everything else you could have done with this time and ways you could have spent your money. It's near and dear to your heart for a reason. So talk about stories about what led you here, or successes you've seen that make you think there's nothing else I would rather be doing. This is it for me. So when I talk about telling your story and connecting through that, that's what I mean. It's being vulnerable and connecting people emotionally so that they can say, wow, I felt like that. I know what that's like. Or my sister just went through that. She needs to be reading this. She needs to talk to this person. You become a human, not just a place where you disperse facts and things that help people. You have to connect with them on that human level. So that, if you can learn how to do that, you will be far and away ahead of most business owners, especially in the medical profession. No offense, but a lot of people focus on facts. And when you really get into the human side of it, that's why they want a physician who can really understand them and who cares about them. So if you can start conveying that even online, you're light years ahead.
That's great. I have one last question.
Okay.
And this is with regards to making business cards. I know you talk about like going to different groups. I know that there's this organization called Meetups that you can meet different organizations like entrepreneurial or just people outside of that scope, so to speak.
Right.
Do you suggest as a student that in order to make a lasting, or not necessarily in order to make a lasting impression, but rather as a keepsake for those that we feel like we organically connected in some way, for us as a student to create business cards with saying that, hey, this is my name, email address, my blog information, if you have a blog or if you have a website, or just to let them know that I'm a student and in the future I'll be graduating in this time frame or something like that. Would you suggest as a student we create business cards, or should we wait until we graduated to do something like that?
The more you can do now, the better. So, Vistaprint is a very inexpensive way to go online and create a business card. I absolutely recommend that, because you want people to remember who you are and how to connect with you. Because if you don't, you've just lost something that could be really great.
Right.
Now, I don't want to leave it at just that, because a lot of people will go to networking events and they meet people and they have, a bunch of great conversations and they're handing out their business card. But the problem is people lose business cards, or they just kind of can fade to the background. So I would say make the business cards. You want to have every tool that you can available to you, but really remember that the onus is on you to really develop that relationship. So a lot of people, and I'm not saying that you would do this, but I just want you to know, a lot of professionals in a lot of different areas will go out and think, well, I gave them my card. If they're interested, they'll get in touch with me. But I'm telling you, put the onus on yourself. So when you give them your card, if they don't have a card to give you, tell them that's fine. Why don't you just give me your email address and your phone number or whatever, and have just a tiny little notebook or a 3x5 card that you bring with you, and just jot those down and make sure that you're the one who follows up with them. Even just, it was so great to meet you. Thank you so much for whatever, or I thought of you when I read this, something like that. Or we had such a great connection. I wanted to make sure you read this blog post that has to do with something. So do the business cards, that's great, but don't use a business card as a crutch, thinking, or not as a crutch, but don't let yourself think that they are going to remember to contact you from it. It's something they can have to look at, but you take ownership of the follow-up.
Right. Okay. So thank you very much. I'll turn you back over now to Dylan.
Okay.
You got any other questions?
I did, but I don't know if we have time.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. You want to squeeze one more in? Or?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Christina, we're getting short on time. I'm gonna let another student ask one last question here and wrap it up.
Okay.
So I'll bring her on.
Hi, Christina.
Hi.
I'm Rachel,
Hi,
and I guess my question is, like, since we are students, it's kind of hard to market to say that we're the professional, we're the expert at this and that, because we're not technically doctors yet. So, how would you recommend we go about marketing ourselves? And if we say that we're a student, people will kind of take it seriously because we're still kind of in the learning process. What can we market ourselves as a student without using the word student or doctor, I guess?
Sure. No, that's good. And that is where we're going to spend a lot of time in these small groups. So it's difficult to become comfortable when you know that you're still in the learning phase. And even if they wanted to come to you right now, you're not in a position to do that. So what you can start to do is just slowly position yourself as an expert. And while you can't treat people and you can't diagnose maybe what they're going through, you can start to give them a lot of tips on healthy living. You can start to just talk to people about, again, why you're drawn to this area. Did something happen in your life from a health perspective or someone who you're close with? And help them relate to who you are. So you can, maybe there's a recent study that's just shown something that's been released in an area that interests you or that you think would resonate with this person. So maybe it's sharing the findings of others. But I think, even when you look at professors who we see as experts, they're often sharing information that comes from someone else. It comes from other sources. But you are doing a lot of research and a lot of learning. So I think just sharing what you're learning and how much this can impact people is what I'm talking about. And if you find an area where they are struggling or have an interest in learning about, there could be articles or studies or just some basic tips that are outside the realm of diagnosis and treatment, just to have them make the connection. Rachel, naturopath, area of specialization, and just kind of staying in touch with little things. So I know that's not extremely specific, but I really think when you get your mind around this is an area that I want to start learning, then as you are reading, as you're learning, as you're having experiences, you can jot down a few sentences from those. Think about it in terms of Instagram or Facebook. What would be a picture? It's one snapshot of one experience that you're sharing with someone. So think of what you're learning and how to translate that in that perspective. You just want to give someone a quick glimpse of one area that can connect with them or that shows what you do, and then continue to just give very small glimpses.
So if we were to go to networking meetings and different special interest group meetings, how would we introduce ourselves? Because we can't really say, I'm a naturopathic doctor. Like, hi, my name is Rachel, I'm a naturopathic doctor or naturopathic student, like that.
Well, and you may look for different types of networking groups now than you will when you graduate.
Okay.
So you may find other student groups who will be very accepting of the fact that you're a student and that they have nothing to do with the naturopathic profession. So that's where, maybe as a naturopathic group, you find dentists in Tucson, or you find ASU Entrepreneurs Club, or you find different groups and you put together meetups with other future entrepreneurs. And that way you can kind of all start to help each other at the same time. You may also network at different events that you attend. So there may be conventions or conferences that you go to. Some may be very specific to naturopaths. Some may be broader. So the ones that are broader are great places for you to talk about what you've learned there. other things that you're learning. You just want someone to see that you're very serious about what you do and that you have a heart about it. So start to be creative in thinking, as a student, where are places who I can meet people who may either be students or at least be open to people who are still educating themselves in this area, just to begin to learn, to begin to have a contact. And then when you graduate, then you might join some of these organizations that are geared toward, okay, now you're in the profession and you really need it. But right now, just think about, like I said, bartenders, restaurants where you go, friends, baristas, social media contacts. Get really creative with people who would be interested in the types of things that you're learning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rachel.
Hey, Christina. We're gonna have to wrap it up now, but I just wanted to thank you for giving us your time and sharing some insight. And I'm looking forward to getting the video, and then I'll spread it to the rest of the students and alumni.
Thank you so much, Dylan. I really appreciate you putting this together today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.